Harris has never been popular. You can count the number of delegates she won in the 2020 primaries on one hand, as long as that hand has no fingers. In 3 years as vice president, she's been quieter than an electric car. And it's not fair that she's not popular. She's intelligent and accomplished, and in fact was put in charge of the border. And look at how... Okay, bad example.
You'd think Bill Maher would have moved on by now. It's been months since the Democrats suffered a brutal defeat at the polls. But clearly, the sting still lingers, and Maher isn't done lashing out. He's kept up a steady stream of sharp sarcasm, zeroing in on the DNC's controversial choice of candidate. To be fair, his criticism of Kamala Harris didn't start with the election. Maher's been openly skeptical of her long before she ever made it onto the ticket.
Should Kamala Harris run for California governor in 2026 after polls show her leading? I'm going to give that a big no.
I think she's had her chance several times.
She should run far, far away.
Yeah, I think Kamala Harris would make a great president of a university. Not that she's a bad person or a bad candidate or she's smart.
This is precisely why Bill Maher has never eased up on Kamala Harris. Her consistent refusal to challenge the demands of the progressive fringe has made her a target of his criticism. The far left has had a presence in the Democratic Party since the 1990s, but leaders like Clinton and Obama kept that influence at bay, maintaining a centrist image that appealed to moderates and swing voters. Kamala took a different path, one of silence. When Roe v. Wade was overturned, she was nowhere to be seen. As the national debate over biological males competing in women's sports intensified, she stayed silent. She never pushed back against the more extreme narratives coming from the far left, nor did she make any effort to separate herself from them. To undecided voters, it wasn't just passivity, it looked like full alignment. Her silence sent a message. And for Maher, who rarely holds back, that message spelled danger, not just for Harris, but for the broader future of the Democratic Party.
And finally, new rule with only a couple of weeks to go. It's not too late for Kamala Harris to do what many have been calling for her to do since she became the candidate. Have a sister soldier moment. And if you weren't around in 1992, let me tell you what a sister soldier moment means. It's when you earn cred with the middle-of-the-road voters by standing up to an extremist in your own coalition. For Bill Clinton in 1992, that was a notorious rapper. No, not him.
Kamala Harris never managed to earn the trust of the American people, and for one simple reason, she never showed any backbone. Behind the polished speeches and nervous laughter, voters saw a leader who lacked the strength to stand firm when it mattered most. This wasn't just about policy differences, it was about confidence. Americans feared that if she ever held the reins of power, she wouldn't just mismanage the country, she could unravel it. The concern wasn't abstract. In a world on edge with geopolitical tensions, the thought of Harris squaring off against aggressive world leaders was deeply unsettling. Would she hold her ground against China? Push back on Putin? Few believed she would. The dominant fear was that she'd crumble under pressure, yield to global bullies, and let instability seep in through the cracks of weak leadership. That fear, more than anything else, sealed her fate.
Obama reasoned then, as Kamala should now, that, yeah, there are some Americans who are not going to vote for me just because I'm black. And while I can still win without them, I can't win if I lose the person who will vote for a black president but is kind of looking for a reason not to. So he made an amazing speech about race and called Reverend Wright's words a bunch of rants that aren't grounded in truth. He said Wright
expressed a profoundly distorted view of this country, a view that sees white racism as endemic, that elevates what is wrong with America above all that we know is right with America.
And he won big. Now, Kamala could make her own Reverend Wright speech and ask all white Americans to please understand, as much as you can, how much in 2020 the sight of a black man being slowly murdered with a white cop's knee on his neck would affect you if that was the history of your race. I think most Americans would be sympathetic.
Even Barack Obama, the Democratic Party's golden standard, knew when to draw the line with the far left. A defining moment came when he publicly distanced himself from his former pastor, Reverend Jeremiah Wright, after Wright claimed that white Americans had deliberately created HIV/AIDS to destroy the black community. That decision wasn't easy. Wright's views resonated with many in black neighborhoods devastated by the epidemic. Obama could have leaned into that anger, taken the easy path, and secured unwavering support. But he didn't. Instead, he chose the harder road, one of leadership and independence. He understood a fundamental truth: relying solely on one loyal demographic while ignoring the broader electorate is political suicide. It was a calculated risk that showcased real conviction. Kamala Harris, by contrast, hasn't shown the same resolve. Rather than define herself as a leader with backbone, she's allowed herself to be trapped by identity politics, unwilling to challenge the party's extremes or reach beyond her core base. That's not boldness, it's a miscalculated strategy disguised as safety. Bill Maher hasn't missed the pattern. He's repeatedly called out the very woke ideas Harris continues to sidestep, the ones a strong leader would confront head-on.
No, Sister Souljah, whose music is not much remembered, but her words are. After the LA riots in '92, she said, "If there are any good white people, I haven't met them." Now, in fairness, she had just come out of Williams-Sonoma. But she also said, if black people kill black people every day, why not have a week and kill white people? And Bill Clinton, looking for an easy target and also well aware that killing white people would decimate our Olympic snowboard team, rebuked Souljah and came out against taking a week to kill whitey. And yes, that was seen as courageous. It was an easy win. Clinton won over independent whites, and it didn't hurt him with black voters who went for him overwhelmingly.
Kamala Harris had countless chances to separate herself from the chaos of the far left, but she let every one of them slip by. At any point, she could have pushed back on one of the many absurd, woke narratives dominating the discourse. Doing so could have earned her the respect of undecided voters who were desperate for just a hint of common sense. Take the ridiculous idea of rebranding shoplifting as shopping justice. Since when did stealing from stores become a noble form of protest? Outside of the rarest life or death circumstances, justifying one crime as a response to another isn't activism, it's madness. That was low-hanging fruit. An easy stance to take. A simple win. But Kamala stayed quiet. Her unwillingness to challenge even the most extreme rhetoric left voters with two troubling impressions: either she agreed with it, or she didn't have the spine to oppose it. That silence didn't just damage her credibility, it pushed away the very voters she needed to win over.
Teaching of which is apparently job none in Chicago, because only about 1 in 4 students in the city are proficient in either math or English, and absenteeism is off the charts. The teachers there want a raise now, and look, I'm always all for all teachers always getting a raise everywhere. I hate kids. I can't imagine being around them all day. But I also think Kamala Harris could have a moment if she trotted out her favorite phrase and said, "Let me be very clear. Our schools need to do better. Our kids need to be in school, and when they're there, they need to have the phones off and the brains on, learning the basic things we used to teach. And the idea that testing is rooted in white supremacy is in itself a racist belief that says black children can't compete with white children on tests, which they surely can."
Education in Chicago is in crisis, and apparently, teaching is no one's job. Only about 1 in 4 students is proficient in math or English, and absenteeism is through the roof. Meanwhile, teachers are demanding a raise. Now look, I'm all for teachers getting paid more, everywhere. I hate kids. I couldn't imagine spending all day in a room full of them. So yes, they deserve more. But there's another side to this. Kamala Harris could actually score political points here if she leaned into one of her favorite phrases. Let me be very clear. She could say, "Let me be very clear. Our schools must do better. Our children need to be in the classroom. And when they're there, the phones should be off and the brains turned on, learning the foundational skills we used to prioritize." The claim that standardized testing is rooted in white supremacy is, in itself, a deeply racist notion. It suggests that black children are inherently less capable than white children, which is simply not true. Our kids can compete, and they should be given every opportunity to prove it. It would be a bold, common-sense stance, the kind Harris has consistently failed to take.
Looting was rebranded as justice shopping. We stopped arresting shoplifters. Anti-racist Baby was a bestseller. Corporations took DEI to ludicrous lengths. We opened our hearts to all who wanted to come here, and then also our borders. Portland decriminalized all drugs, and Seattle set up a no-cop zone until they had to reverse course on both. Standardized testing was dropped until schools saw how dumb that was. And yet, The head of the teachers union in Chicago still maintains that testing is, quote, junk science rooted in white supremacy. And her union tweeted during COVID, when many Americans felt we could have gotten back to normal sooner, that the push to reopen schools is rooted in sexism, racism, and misogyny. No, it was rooted in reading, writing, and arithmetic.